Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, getting up and feeling awesome. Got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise for today, and I certainly appreciate you folks joining me this morning. We'll try to figure it out. This pesky low pressure continues to kind of spin away. This thing has still not made a technical landfall. It's still off the coast of like Myrtle Beach right now, but throughout the day today, it will technically come on shore, but it's really void of moisture, and that's just due to the fact that there's a lot of shear in place and a lot of dry air that's just really zapped a lot of its moisture away. But a lot of areas will still receive rain today from it. There'll be some well below average temperatures in this one little small pocket over the Carolinas, Virginia, the Southern Alps, places like that. And then we'll talk about how we continue to have this low-level flow that supports strong to severe storms every afternoon over the last several days, and will continue over the next several days. Same kind of pattern. Right over the high plains will support strong to severe storms. So we'll continue to talk about that. And we'll even dive a little bit deeper into what's really driving this. We haven't done that in a few days. And we'll talk about the chance for more tropical development, a chance as we get into later this work week, even into the weekend. Yes, it could potentially affect people's weekend. Again, if you notice something different behind me, it's a white screen. The last video I did my Carolina Gamecock flag. Wanted something just a little bit more neutral. This is the white screen. I don't like it too much. It's kind of cheap. You can see the creases in it behind me. I like more of the natural look, but guys, I'm just not a place where one day we are going to add an addition to this house where we're going to turn the back porch into just like an office area for my YouTube, and I'm going to have a nice, pretty background for you guys, maybe like a shelf of just weather stuff. If I ever hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel, like a plaque of the YouTube sends you for hitting 100,000 subscribers. Just think of accomplishments, things that you make for me. Because some people send nice stuff in the mail, things like that. That is the goal. But my bedroom that me and my wife sleep on, I don't think that is necessary. I love the more natural look. I think that it's more up my alley because I'm more of just I like to talk to you guys like you're right next to me. So I take more of like a real approach, I guess is what you could say. But I think for now, we'll test the white screen out. We'll see how it goes. Give me some feedback. But for now, we're going to keep the white screen up. But I have an idea that depending on the time of the year, we can like hang up lights behind this thing, like around wintertime, snowflake lights. Christmas time, maybe some kind of Christmas lights behind me. The fall, some kind of fall themed lights. So just some ideas that I think would be cool to make the channel different in a way. But anyways, that's over 3 minutes long. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. You guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over? As always, please put it in the comments below. Channel has really slowed down, guys, which was totally expected. So, get the word out. Try to like the video. If you do like it, helps get these videos out there, reach more people, and we can continue to grow the channel. But we got leftover moisture from the moisture last night continuing across the plains. The whiter colors you see on the map, that's more water content in the atmosphere, obviously where more rain and storms are. There is a system right here. You just cannot see it because we're looking at water vapor loop. So it indicates dry air and moist air. And with the actual system, there's not a lot of moist air unless you're in certain parts of this low pressure. So the center of this low pressure is actually right into here. I'm about to show you a different vantage point of this here in a second. But this is actually throwing more moist air into this dry air up here in portions of the central and southern Appalachian Mountains, the Ohio Valley. A lot of moisture bubbling up from this leftover convection from last night in this region. This little upper level low continues to pull in this low pressure that is right here. Low pressure right into here. A little upper level low feature right here. This is actually helping to yank this inland. Will yank it inland over the next several hours here in the Carolinas. But a lot less moisture with it today than there was yesterday. The sun is coming up. That's why you see this thing shoot across the screen. Sun is coming up on it. But I mean, look at this. It's got a little eye to it, right? You think, well, why isn't this a named storm? Why isn't this Arlene? Well, that's because it has fronts attached to it. It's not tropical in nature, even though it looks tropical in nature. It's not. So it's more of just energy off a front, more so like a nor'easter. Okay. But I mean, it looks like it. It does, but it's completely void of moisture around the center, and especially the southern side. All the moisture's on top of it, basically on the northern side of this. But I mean, this is going to look really cool when the sun fully rises on it, which it pretty much has. But when we get a full view of this, but this little center will eventually make landfall, maybe around the Cape Fear area, Wilmington area, or somewhere between Myrtle Beach and Wilmington over the next several hours. And if you look at the radar of this thing, I'm probably going to have to stop it and restart it here. You look at the radar of this thing, that is the center of low pressure right here. The technical eye wall, if you will, is trying to make some sort of landfall over areas of like Myrtle Beach or up to Cape Fear. So it's pretty interesting this morning. I'm sure some gusty winds are associated with it. Or, you know, sometimes with these really weak low pressures, there's not much winds at all. But you got some heavier bands up here in far eastern North Carolina. You got more just solid rain over the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina, and a big shield of rain has moved into eastern Kentucky, even some rain in areas of West Virginia, and I expect more widespread rain in Virginia a little bit later today. But a big shield of rain has moved into the Delmarva area, but you know, you could be waking up some rumbles of thunder here in eastern sections like the Outer Banks of North Carolina. You move back over here, a little bit of storm activity in areas of central Louisiana, southwest Mississippi. You got some rain falling. You got a big time line of storms riding the Texas-Mexico line down here. So heads up, Brownsville, Texas. You guys could have some big storms later this morning. Leftover energy in the panhandle of Texas. And we have a big area of showers and storms slowly drifting through west central and central Nebraska. Even the northwest corner of Kansas is seeing this too. So we'll go on and look at the Storm Prediction Center for today. We have a slight risk of severe weather. That's a level 2 out of 5. A marginal risk in the dark green. And then just a general risk of storms over here in the Carolinas and Virginia, areas of West Virginia. Tornado risk today, a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location is set up in this region of western Kansas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, northern panhandle of Texas, a very small section of New Mexico, and then portions of southeast and eastern Colorado. Need to watch out for a quick spin up today. Winds not high. There's not much wind flow aloft supporting a damaging wind threat, but there's a 5% risk of winds pushing 50 knots or higher. Hail threat, there is a 15% risk of hail in excess of 1 inch or larger in this yellow region right here. So we'll look at the excessive the excessive rainfall outlook here. And you got a slight risk here, a slight risk here, and a slight risk there. So that is at least a 15% risk of excessive rainfall, which means you have at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met. And that just really depends on how much rain you've gotten lately. So whatever your guidance is in this region or your criteria at this certain time. I'm really watching this area kind of near the Boone, Banner Elk, Blowing Rock region. The North Carolina mountains, as basically all this moisture is being shoved up against these mountains. It squeezes out all the moisture in the atmosphere, and sometimes it can enhance rainfall in this region as you have a little bit of kind of like an upslope flow, if you will. Low pressure right in here. We'll talk about the southeast, and we're only going to talk about this area because that's really the only area where weather is occurring today in the southeast. Everybody else that you don't see on this map right now, right here, you know, you got pretty chill weather today, a pretty nice day. Definitely enjoy your Sunday, but we'll take a close look at what's going on here. We got showers and even some storms in eastern North Carolina this morning, but nothing really pushing severe limits. But, you know, we get into the lunchtime, 1 o'clock time frame. A lot of rain falling right here in the North Carolina mountains, especially. Some of this could be really enhanced. You know, definitely rain could be falling at a pretty heavy rate in this region, so please be careful for any flash flooding that can really happen really quickly. So don't let this catch you by surprise or anything like that. But, you know, sections of northeast Tennessee, areas like the hills and mountainous regions of western and southwestern Virginia, the hills of Kentucky could certainly see some decent rain today. Not expecting massive amounts of rain, but at least a couple inches to maybe a few inches of rain could fall in these regions today. We get into the afternoon. I really think North Carolina is going to see a good bit of rain today, especially if you live in the kind of the northwest portion of the state, central to western portion of the state. I think a lot of areas in kind of the southwest section of North Carolina will see most of the rain this morning, but a lot of this rain will begin to slowly drift into Virginia, West Virginia, into the overnight hours, and then we're waking up Monday morning for Memorial Day morning. You're waking up to some showers, maybe some rounds of heavy rain in this section of the country right here. Rainfall between now and the next 24 hours. I mean, Boone, you could get 2 to 3 inches of rain today. Southwest Virginia, 1 to 2, maybe as much as 3 inches of rain. The hills of eastern Kentucky, inch and a half of rain is possible. Elsewhere, just areas of ½ inch to 1 inch is possible. But this little, I know it's not little, but compared to the entire lower 48, it's not very widespread. You just have this area right here that could potentially get a good bit of rain today, and it's just going to be a nuisance. It's going to ruin your day if you have any outdoor activities planned, that's for sure. The Northeast, another day where the weather just is pretty chill. There's not much going on. You're not really being influenced by this low pressure down here. You could have some showers that might drift in from Canada into areas of far northern New York State or Vermont. Outside of that, there's just not much to speak on. There's not much going on. Enjoy your Sunday. It's going to be nice for sure. South Central U.S., different story. Unless you live in eastern sections of this region you're seeing, you guys are still being kind of influenced by a little bit of a blocking pattern, ridge of high pressure, basically a lot of dry airs over here too. So a lot of these storms aren't making it over here. It's actually getting quite dry in areas of Illinois, northern Arkansas, areas of Missouri. It's starting to get dry in these regions of the country for sure. But after having a very active flow in the beginning of the year, it just goes from one extreme to the other, right? So hopefully you guys can get into some rain action. I've had many comments saying it's getting very dry out there, even on Twitter. But we'll back this up. Very widely scattered showers and storms can develop really anywhere from eastern New Mexico to western Texas, all the way up to Oklahoma. I would say, especially eastern Kansas, I would say that, Dodge City's a big area to watch out for. Garden City, Liberal, you guys could see some storm action. And really it's going to be hard to figure out exactly who sees it. But, I would say where you have that slight risk today, that's probably where you will have more robust thunderstorm development here in western Kansas. So if you live in western Kansas today, definitely watch out for any big storms. Colby, Goodland, Oakley, Scott City, like I said, Garden City. You guys could see some big storm action. Some of these could ride the Oklahoma, Kansas state line and basically affect any kind of small towns or communities in that region. Could have multiple rounds of storms, but as you get into the overnight hours, around midnight and after, big area of storms could really blast through western and northwestern sections of Oklahoma. Watch out, Woodland overnight tonight. I'm talking about late tonight. And then another area, we'll probably wake up to another area of showers and storms somewhere in Oklahoma or North Texas tomorrow morning right into here. So really what's driving this, guys, is just a skinny, low-level flow right over the high plains and areas of the plains. So, you look over here, you got dry air, right? You look over here, you got dew points in the 40s, 30s, 50s. Really doesn't support severe weather. But if you look right here in the middle, okay, you got dew points in the 60s and, even some upper 50s, which in this area of the country will support severe weather. But so you got this corridor of more moist air right here. When you have more moist air, you're going to have a chance of more energy building in the atmosphere, higher CAPE levels, okay, better lapse rates. So basically, one of the first things you look at when you look at for chances of severe weather is you look at where the best moisture return is, and it's right here in the high plains and areas of the central plains and southern plains, northern plains, everybody in the plains. This is where your best moisture return is, and this continues. You get into tomorrow, and dew points scattered and smothered about in the 60s and upper 50s. So this is where your best area of storm development is going to be, especially right into here. Okay, so you look at the north central U.S., another quiet day. You continue to be dominated by a blocking pattern, ridge of high pressure into this region, surface high in place, upper ridge. So, later today, you could have some storm development that pivots through areas of South Dakota, North Dakota, and this region right here. Even some showers, maybe a storm or two in areas of eastern Nebraska. This continues to kind of ride through. More robust thunderstorm development, and I would say somewhere in the eastern half of Nebraska. But, there could be some big storms right over here in the western half of Nebraska too. But watch out for some storms in the western half of the Dakotas later this evening. And then these will fly right into this ridge and really begin to stabilize, and poof, they go. They're gone. By the time you get late into the overnight hours, moisture is having a hard time entering this region of the country due to this ridge in place. It's just not allowing any weather to really happen. But if you look at a closer look at the northern plains, another day where you're going to have robust thunderstorm development in this region. We'll stop it here. If you live, let's make sure I don't say any wrong towns, but how do y'all pronounce that? Gillette? Hopefully I said that right. Wyoming, any towns and communities in far southeast Montana, the western areas of the Dakotas, some big storms are possible. Watch out. Even Rapid City, Spearfish, you guys could see some big storms later on today. Scottsbluff, Nebraska, there very well could be storms down here in this region. But I could see these producing some pretty large hail. There was a storm, I believe, in Wyoming yesterday that produced a really nice photogenic tornado. The mountains were in the backdrop, I believe. So if you live in this area of the country, watch out for some storms. They're definitely going to pop up fast and furious, and then by the time you get into the overnight hours, they're gone. The rest of the West, same area continues to get all the weather as you still have this troughing in place, ridging right into here. So you still have pieces of energy that fly across the base of this trough, and numerous showers. Some storm activity is possible in those same areas I keep mentioning out west, kind of the northern half of Nevada, northern Utah, all of Wyoming, pretty much all of Idaho has a chance, Montana, and these will continue to pivot through. And then with the loss of daytime heating until you get to the overnight hours, they're gone. Temperatures, pocket of cooler air right over this area will just ruin your Sunday. Even down here in my neck of the woods in South Carolina, again, expecting another cool day, just not as much rain. But if you're wondering what this eyesore is on the map, that is our low pressure that continues to bring the showers, the heavy rain, even in areas, cooler temperatures, and just rain-cooled air is the theme. If you're not being affected by this, everywhere else we're getting to the 70s, 80s, even some low 90s. Beautiful swimming weather. But this pocket of cool air could affect areas as far northwest as southern areas of Indiana, southern sections of Ohio. So everywhere else is nice. It'll be much warmer in areas of Ontario than it will be in South Carolina today. But I could see areas of the eastern Carolinas, especially eastern North Carolina, beginning to warm up into the 70s today as this low pressure kind of brings in more moist, warm air. Out west, a little bit below average temperature-wise, warm in the desert southwest, but, this is below average for this time of the year. But with troughing settling in, well, not settling in, it's been over the area. You got a consistent trough that is set up, which is basically, think of that as just a stationary cold front that's draped across this area. You continue to have below average temperatures for pretty much everybody in this region compared to what you normally see for this time of the year and whatever your geographical location is. The pattern's setting up. You see this area right here? This is a ridge of high pressure. So this continues to block really anything that continues to try to come up out west and really move across the middle of the country. So you continue to watch this. The southern string remains active, right? You see down here how you have lower heights, these blue colors, that's lower heights, which symbolizes low pressure, sometimes troughing, which is cold front. In this case, low pressure. So you're continuing to see a signal as we get into late next week, get into the first days of June. another signal down here that supports some kind of low pressure in the Gulf of Mexico. All right, at the same time, you have this blocking that continues. You see these, let's see if we can find a better way to look at it. But you see this higher heights up here, which is the warmer colors like the orange, the yellows you see up here. That's a ridge of high pressure up top. So any of these low pressures, what you see in the blue, they're having a hard time ejecting over the plains because you have this blocking pattern up here. This really blocks any weather from getting up here. That's why you remain dry over the Great Lakes region. Canada has been very warm, things like that. But this is a very El Nino look down here as you have a blocking pattern up here and you have lower heights to the south, which means you have activity down to the south. All the weather's down to the south, the southern portion of the lower 48. So this tells me that I think the South will remain unsettled. And, you got to watch out for energy in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico is slowly warming up. In fact, it's above average temperature-wise, slightly above average. So any energy that really gets trapped down here, forced down here in the Gulf of Mexico, could develop some kind of tropical nature to it. So we got to watch, okay? But I think the same similar pattern will kind of continue through here. And this ridge of high pressure continues to dominate Canada. And all this activity, things like that over the eastern and southeast U.S. will keep temperatures cool. So we're going to continue to have below average temperatures. I'm not talking about what we've seen over the last day or so, but your average temperatures for this time of the year, which for a lot of areas in the south is well into the 80s now, you might struggle to get into the 80s. Might just be upper 70s, low 80s. Okay? But we'll continue to watch this. But, maybe 10 days from now, you might finally lose this blocking pattern up here. We got to watch for sure. But, we look at the European, and we're going to go over all this in much more detail later tonight, try to explain a little bit better. But, we get later into the week, guys, and here it is. Here's this big plume of moisture showing up late week. This is for Thursday morning. This begins to bring a lot of rain activity for Florida, the southeast, and I really think as we get into the later part of this work week into the weekend, we could have just in general a lot of activity, a lot of showers, a lot of storms are possible, maybe tropical rains. But you get into the weekend and then you have this huge plume of moisture based off one run of the Euro getting thrown into Georgia and the Carolinas again with a low pressure setting up right here. This is just one run, and has a strengthening low pressure off the coast of the Carolinas. 8, 9, 10 days from now, which is a really long time. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and I'll be with y'all this evening.